Hello and welcome back to another episode of My Teen Journey for part 13 on F1 22. Now the last time out we were pretty much a bullet train for the Italian Grand Prix, starting last on the grid to finishing P6. We could have got P4, but we just didn't quite make it stick on the last lap, which is unfortunate, but you win some, you lose some. And because of that, we decided to make an adaptation of the... after that, we decided to adapt another part for next season. Now, I said the Sergio won in Azerbaijan, but that wasn't the case. I got that wrong. It was his third win, and he won in Canada and Hungary. Now he won in Italy. And as you saw on the table, it's pretty tight between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Oh, I'm interested to see how that goes down to the wire. So we saw our activities here for the team before we head into another break for the US Grand Prix, which I don't think would happen, to say the least. But hey ho, that happened. So we had some upgrades go onto the car, which is key, to say the least. And we had a bit more resource points coming in, enough to do another adaptation, which we end up doing so. And we just go into the summer break just now, and we had another upgrade for the power supply, and we do another adaptation, and we got news about a retirement. And who is Fernando Alonso? Fernando Alonso at the end of the season is hanging up his boots for the end of this season for the second time in his career, hanging up his boots with Alpine. Interesting. I wonder what he's thinking of that. So we have like a little event to sort out. Now we can choose to accept it or decline, but we accept it because I don't know what you do for this kind of. This is a new feature, so I'm curious to know what has to be done. So we do see what happens here, and we get quite a ridiculous amount of resource, a ridiculous amount of acclaim for the driver, which is great, but it doesn't do the staff morale any good, which is a bit annoying. So we had that adaptation again. We're doing a lot of adaptations for next season, and we did get upgrades onto our car to sort out from Renault, I believe, to sort out the power and the drag and the chassis as well. I mean, it is pretty handy to say this, but come the end of the season, I have decided that I'm going to be going to another engine supplier, but who I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I want to see what kind of offer they have to do. Now, this is slightly different for this episode because instead of using the controller, I am now using a steering wheel. So I did a few practice sessions before doing this episode, so I could get a feel on how the steering feels for what I got here. And going on this lap here is a lot. The car is a lot understeery, to say the least. I'm not gonna lie, but it's like doing time trials in a Merc on equal performance. The difference in that performance is night and day. On this car, there's a lot of understeer. Although I did save a setup for when I was doing time trials for this Grand Prix here, but it just did not seem to suit this car a lot. Considering that there's not a lot of upgrades done on the aerodynamic side of it, which is, to be fair, not great, but it's something to be working on for the next season, to say the least. And I don't know, I honestly do like the feel of having a steering wheel to really like push the boundaries more and chuck it into the corners more, whereas on the controller you can hardly do that. You can hardly do that at all. Especially with the traction control and the ABS assist, because we got a bit wide there, not ideal, but that's to say the least. But with the ABS and everything, it gives you a real feel on how deep you can brake and everything, but you run the risk of locking up, which is not ideal at all. And I did wanted to change the front wings slightly to get more downforce from it, which is very crucial. I also reduced the rear wings slightly, which spoiler alert, which ended up not really making much difference. But we were slightly faster in the straight line, to say the least, which was pretty handy. But with this practice session, even though the lap times aren't represented, I felt that we had a pretty good session there. I genuinely felt we had a really good session and a really good car at the same time. But on the other hand, those lap times don't fully reflect on the current status quo, to say the least. So we sort of the practice sessions and flew through them, and and then we get some pretty handy discounts for like the power for the chassis and the aerodynamics and everything. And then I think durability was one of them. I can't really remember. It's quite a while editing all these videos and everything. But there are some things I want to plan on doing for like future episodes, editing wise, to bring something different. Something I was doing in early videos and everything, to really just make things a bit different than you've seen everyday stuff. So here's qualifying. So we're into qualifying here now, to say the least, and I was pretty confident. I won't lie, I was pretty confident going into qualifying here, to say the least. And then considering how we did in practice, again, they're not represented lap times, but I still felt pretty confident about where we stand, to say the least. And so we could come out on here to start on our flight. We're on our flying lap here as we speak, and it was a pretty good lap so far. And then we ran slightly wide, and then somehow that's like track violation. I didn't really get it, so we decided to go out again, do a cool down lap, and we went out again, and then coming to the last corner, this lap time is not quite represented as we do a 1:37.4, which I thought was pretty good. But then as we fast forward time, it just put us down there, not great. I was quite shocked, to say the least. And we've been having a good run and getting out of Q1 and everything until the last race, and now today it's looking like we might not hit the same feeling. So I took one click of front wing off to get a bit more cornering speed and then straight line speed. But as we want to go on our build-up lap or something, I wanted the power tube bosses to go through because he was really getting on my nerves. And it is so bright. The lighting effect on this game is crazy. And then eventually let Bottas go because he was starting to get on my nerves. And so we started to do our flying lap here. But with the Alfa Romeo in front of us, we didn't get a good exit there because of that. Because of it's still new to the whole steering wheel malarkey. It was taking some time to get used to it a little bit more, especially with the handling. Where coming on here, we didn't do so good in the first sector, whereas with the start-finish straight, we were starting to come over. But then Daniel Ricciardo was also coming into the reins a bit, and he just sort of started getting in the way, and he's just ruined our lap. Because he's in a much faster car and we're not. That's ruined my lap. Thanks, Ricardo. Thank you very much. Very, very helpful. Very helpful. And so, because of that, we lost so much time to this segment, and it was just not good. We got a track limit violation for that as well, and because we're coming to the end of the session, I just did not want to pull into the pits again. I wanted to go out again. I wanted to do another lap again, since they got DRS and everything. But my recording ran out of time. But we've improved slightly, but it was not enough. We were a tenth of a bit away to get into Q2. It just wasn't enough. It just was not enough at all. Just not enough. So with that situation, I thought we'll start at the back. Let's put some brand new power news on again, because why not? We've got nothing to lose, and we've done another adaptation. Let's get straight into the Grand Prix.
Welcome once again then to the United States Grand Prix here in the magnificent city of Austin. It was here in 2018 that Kimi Raikkonen delighted the world by taking the top step of the podium for the first time in 114 races. There's always a record to be broken. So what, I wonder, is in store for us today? We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, where 20 corners and speeds of up to 200 miles per hour await us on this magnificent racetrack. It's 60% full throttle with plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into turn 1 and the long back straight into turn 12. What a race we have in store today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Perez, Esteban Ocon, and Bottas. Sainz, they've taken a grid penalty. Gasly, Leclerc, and Kevin Magnussen. Mick Schumacher, Verstappen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Guan Yu Zhou and Albon. Vettel, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, they've taken a grid penalty. And Daniel Ricciardo. Tsunoda, Latifi, Hamilton, and Phoenix. It's almost time for the lights to go out. So let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
So a lot of penalties for everyone, and George Russell taking pole position ahead of McLaren's Norris, and Fernando, who's retiring, gets third. What a mix-up grid this is.
Then. The formation lap gets underway.
On paper, it should be a very exciting Grand Prix and everything. I just wish I just wish we get a lot of mixed-up grids in real life and everything, because that makes things a lot more spicy. I mean, yeah, probably had something like that in the Italian Grand Prix this year, but just wasn't the same. So as we come on to the end of the formation, I thought the problem that we had in the last one was just a one-off, but it's happened again, where it's just somehow glitched and just Ricciardo just spun around. Who's blocking Latifi? Oh boy, just very comedic, I must be honest. So 5 red lights come out and away we go. George Russell gets a good start ahead of Norris and Alonso, as does Perez. Lines up, there's the other two in the background. As for us, we're just sort of taking it easy, so seeing what kind of first turn 1 collisions occur, because you never know with these with turn 1 incidents. They can either win, you can either benefit from it, or you don't benefit from it at all. As for us, we don't benefit from it at all. But as you can see, our teammate's fighting with Tsunoda. He loses out, and we go around the outside, come to this corner here, we do dive on. Our teammate hits us! Mate! Watch where you're going. I'm coming through. I'm in a much quicker car. I'm much faster than you compared to where you are in these recent races. Fly me, Oscar. Rule number 1, never turn into your teammate or never hit your teammate at all. That's the goal, that's the unwritten rule with Formula 1. So, because of that, we are just slowly, we were just a bit falling behind, and we're trying to catch up with everyone else. And we do get slipstream from Yuki Tsunoda, and we do a late dive bomb in towards this segment. We don't quite make it, and we hit Tsunoda, and we get a track limit warning. How that works, I don't understand, to save my life. So, coming at the end of the lap, it was fine. It was fine. He's on board with Guan Yu Zhou, coming up to turn 1 and everything. He brakes super late and everything. Oh, he goes straight into the back of Max Verstappen. That was awfully clumsy from the Chinese driver. Very clumsy. As for us, we're trying to catch up with everything, but it's just all them just slowing down. We get on the inside, we get another track limit violation. That's not ideal. We dive bomb everyone else, and we hit Sebastian Vettel. He turns into us, but he didn't see us coming at the same time, to be fair. But we make the move stick somehow, and just trying to pull away from all these guys here. But with the heavy fuel, it's not working at all. Tsunoda comes back at us, we ran wide and understeered off. He comes back at us and he gets ahead. We're trying to do on the inside here, and we just get back ahead of him. Thank goodness for that. Honestly, it was driving me nuts. Guan Yu Zhou comes in with a brand new front wing, so he's pretty much out of the running for this Grand Prix unless the safety car comes in. He goes on to sell soft tires. Soft tires. Are you okay? The soft tires will not last longer. They will not last long at all. We go wide here. Oh my goodness me. It's not ideal there. Tsunoda gets back ahead of us thanks to our little error, to say the least. Oh boy. This is not going very well at all. And we've been trying to close up on Yuki Tsunoda to try and see if we can get back ahead of him. We get slipstream, DRS, and the big of the battery. He goes defensive. We make the move. We go a bit wide. Do we push him off slightly? I don't know. I didn't quite see, but we do get ahead of him. As for Lewis Hamilton, though, he's on a charge. Jason getting ahead of his former teammate, Valtteri Bottas, who then comes back at him, does the switcheroo. They are side by side on this start-finish straight. The two former teammates going wheel to wheel. Nice to see Bottas up against his former teammate in a different car. Oh, it's quite nice to see, to say the least. Always like seeing Bottas like staying behind Lewis a lot and not really benefiting at all. I didn't realize I had a slight front wing damage, but it didn't seem to do much effect on the performance. So that was pretty handy, to say the least. But as time, not a lot happened as time progressed, but we started closing in on Alex Albon, who we needed to get past to catch up to Lance Stroll. So we get the DRS, and we're using an awful lot of battery to close in on the Thai driver. So we go on the inside. He makes his offensive move, and we make the move stick, and we just managed to get past him thanks to that benefit. Thank goodness for that. And now we can concentrate on catching up to Lance Stroll. As we come up to the next lap for a few laps later for turn 1, we ran wide, broke super late, and we go off track and everything, which is not ideal. That allowed Albon to catch up to, that allowed Albon to close in on us. Oh boy. So as we fast forward time, that Williams somehow is fast in a straight line. But it's got a lot more credit. He hits us. Hey, that's not how you overtake. Mind you, I went straight into Sebastian Vettel a lot earlier, so kind of karma comes back at me. But side by side on this straight here, Albon just gets ahead. We brake super late, but we ran a little bit wide, and Albon does get back ahead. But we try and make the move stick here, and we shove him wide, and we just get back ahead of Albon. There, fair and square, nicely done. But we progressed. We made some time progress. Not a lot happened. We did start to close in on Stroll. Everyone comes in here, but I think Albon's about to retire from the Grand Prix. Such a shame. You see Keke Magnussen in the Haas making his first pit stop. He goes onto a set of Haas, jumping the AlphaTauri. I don't know if it's that. There's Pierre Gasly by the looks of it. We go through ahead of these guys, going a bit longer. He just gets ahead behind the Aston of Stroll. I think it's Stroll, yeah. No, it's Sebastian there. Oh, he's retiring for the race. He's retiring for the race. Oh no. An engine blowout. Oh man. What disappointment for the Haas team in their home Grand Prix. That's such a shame for K-Mag, because he was doing rather well up there in the top 10. And for his engine to go poof. Oh, that's such a shame. But free position for us. We're up into 9th place, albeit having to make a pit stop with everyone else leading. George Russell comes into the pit lane from the lead of the Grand Prix, as does Lando Norris, who's also following suit to see if they can try and jump the Mercedes. As the Mercedes boys get to work on Russell's car, a set of hard tyres, as do the McLaren boys for Norris. He goes on a set of hards as well, but he rejoins behind the Mercedes, as does Perez and Ocon. They come into the Grand Prix, they come into the pits as well, excuse me, for their stop as well, as George Russell emerges ahead of Lando Norris, eyeing up for his second win of the season from his maiden win at the Silverstone Grand Prix early this year. That was a great Grand Prix, that was. So we're trying, as to see everyone else diving into the pits, we try and make the most of the advantage and try and push on further to make sure we get ahead of the Aston Martin duos, to say the least. So when we eventually come into the pits on the end of this lap, and I hope I did enough to at least get us ahead of the Astons. But looking at the mini-map and everything, I just don't think I've done enough, considering how almost we've struggled for the handling in this car, and the tire wear especially. No, it's a good stop, but at the same time the clutch was just not quite there. Oh boy, we do rejoin just behind of Lance Stroll, but cold tires rerun super wide, and that allows Ricciardo to do the switcheroo and gets ahead, who fit it one lap earlier, and his tires will be much warmed up, which is good for him, but it's terrible for us. The understeer is crazy. I kind of wish I stuck to the original setup, because then we would have at least benefited from the corners, to say the least. The straight's not doing us any favors at all. Well, it is, but it isn't at the same time. As Vettel gets a nice run at us, DRS, and he's using the battery, we're using the battery to try and stay ahead of him, but he just gets ahead. He does brake late as well. We try and do the switcheroo, but he hugs in that inside line of the corner, to say the least, and he gets us. Oh man, that's pretty annoying. As George Russell is not able to pull away from McLaren's Lando Norris. He's chasing for his first win of his career, whereas the Mercedes of George Russell is chasing for his second win of the season and his career as well. It's been pretty tight between these two since the Grand Prix started. They pretty much dropped Alonso, to say the least. Nice racing between the two. As for us, we're trying to catch up to Sebastian Vettel and get ahead of the four-time world champion, as we get a nice straight on the outside using DRS and the use of the battery. We brake about the same time. We go around the outside. Did we just make it? No, we don't quite make it stick. Oh man, the corners is what sometimes gets me, especially when traction. But we're still much closer to the German driver of Vettel, and we get a nice slipstream, use of the DRS and the battery coming on the inside. He moves slightly to defend. We brake a bit early, thinking that he was going to come back at us, but we just managed to get ahead of him, thank goodness. And we are starting to pull away and started to catch up with Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, we ran a little bit wide there.
I'm afraid you've been given a time penalty for that last incident, mate.
How many track limit violations have I had this season? It is crazy. So that kind of ruined things a little bit. But we started slowly catching up to Stroll and Ricciardo, who Stroll is holding up the Australian nicely. They are side by side coming up to the top of turn 1. But Stroll using his defensive word to keep him at bay, allowing me to get closer. Even though we're not going to be able to finish ahead of them thanks to the 3-second time penalty for track violation. That is very annoying, but it is what it is. We can't like moan about it. We just had to just press on and get on with it. But as time progressed, we were stuck behind them for a while, and it was pretty getting desperate. We were able to stay ahead of Vettel for the time being, thanks to that 4-second margin. As you see, they don't quite make a move. We brake super late. We're just missing that apex a lot. And as you see the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, who's done a tremendous drive today, trying to get on the outside of the AlphaTauri. Gasly, he tries to switch a route, but doesn't quite make it stick. He's going to try again for the next lap, but Verstappen's closely behind him. Oh, that's a race I would like to see watching. But we get so close to Ricciardo, and we get the DRS as well. As we go on to the main straight, coming up to turn 1, Ricciardo goes to the inside. Stroll tries to defend, but he can't do anything about it with that Mercedes powered engine of the McLaren. They touch slightly, bang wheels, but Ricciardo gets ahead and started dropping the Canadian. We ran super wide, but we should get a nice exit at the same time, but it's not quite working out well. But on the next lap, we were much closer to the young Canadian of Lance Stroll. On this start-finish straight, we're using our battery to yeet it over to this corner here, and the DRS. We are closing in everything. We brake super late into the corner. Nicely done. That is P14 for the time being, albeit it will eventually be P15 thanks to the time bet. Here's the replay. We dive bomb on the inside. taking notes from Ricardo from real life. I'm sure he'll be very proud to see that. But as for lap progress, we ran wide in the last corner, which is not ideal. And a lot of bit of concentration, allowing Lance Stroll to get back ahead. We're looking very, out of desperation, I do a dive on the inside, but we brake super late. Oh man, that has really ruined the whole thing. As George Russell comes to, on the last lap, comes to the last 2 corners of this US Grand Prix, just holding off Lando Norris. He comes through the final corner to win the US Grand Prix at COTA, his 2nd win of his career, and Lando Norris takes 2nd place. He didn't quite do it, but George just holds him up. He was on tremendous pressure from the Brit. As for us, well, we finished P15 on track, but eventually becomes P17 thanks to the time penalty. I wasn't very happy, I must be honest. But at the same time, I can't be mad. But it is what it is.
Then for another magnificent United States Grand Prix, and they have hung on to take a sublime victory here today. So, Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
So a massive well done to George Russell getting his 2nd win of the season, his 1st win since the British Grand Prix. My oh my. It's a shame that Lewis Hamilton's not winning for some reason, because if George can do it in this car, how comes Lewis can't? But that's a career mode for you. Alonso gets P3. Nicely done there for the retiring Spaniard. Oh, what a podium that is. That's a rare podium you see. A Mercedes, a McLaren, and an Alpine up there. Charles Leclerc does well, keeping his championship alive, extending his points to Max Verstappen, who can only manage 9th. He can only manage 9th. As for us, well, we started last and we ended up 5 places above. There's nothing more we can do about that. Oh, that's not real. Lewis had to finish 7th. That is pretty impressive. The amount of track limit warnings we've had, it's from this chart here. It is disgracefully annoying. Absolutely annoying. But on the other hand, I need to do better on that. But it is what it is. We lose out to our rival in terms of like stats and how we've done. We've got 1 more race to beat him in our rival competition and everything. Oh boy, just a race to forget for us. But as a Piastri, well, there's nothing much more we can do. And we arrive up to level 15 of Acclaim, which means we can unlock it. We can do a new sponsor, which will help us get more income to hopefully improve our facilities and eventually hire us a new teammate. And I have made my decision that I am going to be replacing Oscar Piastri at the end of the season, who I'm still thinking Nico Hulkenberg, but there are other drivers that have catched my eye, like Jensen Button and other drivers as well. But to say the least, that's a future problem for the time being. But also, there's been a new patch that's been released today, where they've updated the sports liveries of the cars and everything. So this is like pre update for all this footage here. So in the next one, which I'm going to be recording at some point, maybe tomorrow, by the time this video comes out, you'll see the new models on the next video from this at the time of this recording and editing and everything. But yeah, that is the Grand Prix for us. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do highly appreciate everyone taking the time to watch my videos and everything. As I've always said, I know I kind of exaggerated a bit, but I really do highly appreciate it. If I didn't highly appreciate it, I wouldn't be saying it. That's all. But yeah, that was the Grand Prix for us. It was just a race to forget, like I said. Probably tied to it as, I don't know, something like a retirement announcement, steering wheel tryout, and track limit violations wars or something. I don't know. I'm not going to title at some point. But yeah, the next Grand Prix, I thought it was going to be Mexico, but no, it was actually Brazil and Abu Dhabi. So the last one I said Mexico and Brazil will be the last races. So let me correct on that one. So that was my mistake. But yeah, we got the Brazilian Grand Prix coming up next, which is also going to be a sprint weekend, which I'm really looking forward to. And we got Abu Dhabi, which is going to be the final race for us on the new track layout as well, which I've not tried out yet, which I'm highly excited for. But yeah, that's the Grand Prix for us. And if you like this video, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the new channel for new content, for more F1 22 content and everything. And I will see you all in the next video for the Brazilian Grand Prix. See you soon.